Hi, Maria. Let's take a look at this new set of essays you've sent us. The topic is green energy. Let's see what you said here. Over the last few years, use of renewable energy has gained, here you need an ED, importance. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether greenhouses, help in reducing costs and conserving the environment, or are considered to be a serious threat to energy security. This essay will argue both the views. However, personally, I strongly agree that that use of renewable energy resources, as it has several benefits. Okay, you can probably see that I read this in a rather halting way because there were some problems with your grammar, and I had to think about what you meant and what you were trying to say. So that's what a little bit what I want to go into. Obviously here we corrected this. It was this last sentence that was a little difficult, okay? So let's look at that. This essay will argue both views, however, personally I strongly agree. No, personally I am strongly in favor of use of renewable energy. Get rid of this, as it has several benefits. That would make sense. Or, personally, I strongly agree that use of renewable energy resources should continue as it has several benefits. So either way you do it, you needed to change a couple of things in this sentence to make it make sense. Okay, so let's move on. On the one hand, there are people who argue that renewable energy greenhouses are not dependable. Now, this is the second time I've seen you talk about greenhouses. This is inaccurate. I don't know why you're using this expression. We talk about the greenhouse effect, but that's not what we're talking about here. So when you talk about greenhouses, what are you really saying? So the way you used it here, look it up, research it a little bit, because I think you're using an expression that you think means something else, but it doesn't. So that's something I want you to be a little clear on. What you could have said is renewable/green energy. That would have made sense. But this in itself doesn't make sense, this greenhouses here. So, because we're not talking only about homes, we're also talking about businesses, factories, everything, cars, all types of transportation. So just talking about houses here seems rather strange to me. Let's move on. On the one hand, there are people who argue that renewable energy is not dependable. The central reason behind this is that renewable energy depends on external factors like sun, wind, and water, and in case of bad weather conditions, there could be a disturbance in the power supply. For example, solar powers generate electricity only during the daytime as a function because of sunlight. Here you need some sort of a comma or a colon or something. During a cloudy day or during monsoons, electricity generation is difficult, hence relying on, relying on only renewable energy is not considered to be steady. All right, fine. On the other hand, renewable energy, again, get rid of this greenhouses, uses natural resources which are infinite and do not use resources like precious fossil fuels, which are finite in quantity. I don't know why you're talking about greenhouses here. Green energy is considered to be environmentally, LLY, friendly. This is largely because it does not release CO2 gases, which in turn aggravate, it should be no S here because we're talking about gases, global warming. Also, green energy helps in reducing costs of the energy, thus making it affordable for people. For example, an extensive study by Oxford University shows that countries like Iceland, which, it's not a who, it's a which, it's a country, which function, no S here because we're talking about countries which function on renewable energy are considered to be less polluted and do not suffer from adverse climate changes. Thus, it is possible to say beyond doubt that renewable energy helps in preserving the depleting resources like fossil fuels and also helps in conserving the environment. Okay. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that green energy has positive effects on the environment. It is predicted that in the near future, the importance of renewable energy and saving finite resources will increasingly grow in importance. Okay, it's fine You asked me if I thought you were ready for your exam. That really depends on what score you need. If you would be okay with a 6 or a 6.5, then I would say okay. If you're aiming for a 7 and above, the answer is, well, not quite so ready yet. The reason I say that is because there were considerable areas with your grammar that created problems. They weren't enough to say, okay, wow, this is a really problematic essay that creates strain, but it's also not an essay where it has minimal grammatical mistakes, okay? A 7 can have some mistakes, but they can't be consistent. They have to be kind of scattered here and there. They can't be too many. You had some grammar mistakes that were consistent. And this thing with the greenhouses, that really threw me. I didn't know why you kept talking about it. And so, like I said, if you're aiming for a 7, I would say you probably need a little more work before you get there. Let's see. You did have some good elements. You did support a lot of your ideas. I can't really say that anywhere I was like, okay, support it more. So as far as task achievement goes, I felt you did well. Coherence and cohesion also you did okay. So probably it's an issue of grammar and vocabulary where I thought you could have done a little better. Like I said, again, if you're aiming for one of those higher band scores, okay? Let's see. So it was fine. One thing I want you to be careful of is here, take a look at this. Make sure that you kind of, as much as possible, try to balance your paragraphs. I mean, it's not a huge difference. Maybe if it were handwritten, it might seem a lot bigger, but make sure you kind of spend an equal amount of time on both. It was fine. It's just, I want you to be careful about it in the future. So I want to take a look at your task 1. All right, it's a letter to your neighbor. All right, it looks like it's an informal letter, which is fine. It doesn't really tell us whether it's formal or informal, so it really leaves it up to the student. So let's see what you did. Dear Sally, I'm writing this letter to share my discomfort due to your dog's constant barking. I have noticed, D, that for the past 2 weeks, your dog Sam has been barking all day long and as well as in the night, and it is quite a nuisance. It is quite a bit of a nuisance. Why don't we change that? Let's clean it up because it's just these little structural words that you just don't need. You could have simplified it. So Sam has been barking all day long as well as in the night, or you know what? Even clean it up further. Sam has been barking all day and all night long, and it is quite a nuisance for my family. Okay. It's not the barks, it's the barking. So the barking does not bother us during the day as our area is quite noisy. However, at night, not in the night, at night, it is a bit, you can either say inconvenient, adjective, or a bit of an inconvenience. All right. My husband and I somehow managed to sleep, but my 6-month, with no S, old baby is unable to sleep due to the loud barking, ing. Okay? It's the barking. The barks, it means something a little different. It means the same, but here in this context, you really want to use the word barking rather than barks, okay? It's the overall action of the dog barking over and over rather than just discrete, specific times of that noise. I hope that makes sense. I would suggest that you should take your dog to a vet, either say a vet or a veterinarian or an animal doctor, but not a vet doctor. It's awkward, as constant barking is a sign of illness. I can suggest a few doctors who have treated my friend's dogs who had a similar problem like your dog. If I can be of further assistance, please do not hesitate to ask. You can phone me personally on the number below. Okay, you're fine. All right, so it's okay. It's fine. Again, it's some of these grammar things. It's some of these little bits of awkwardness, little grammatical, structural words that you're missing that don't really show a particular ease with writing in an advanced way. So again, I'm going to say what I said with your task 2. If you are looking for one of those 2 or 3 highest band scores, then it looks like you're going to need to do a little more work to make sure you overcome some of these grammatical errors. The problem is that some of them are rather basic errors. Like there's things like agreement. Sometimes your pronoun doesn't agree with your noun. So those things are considered kind of basic grammatical errors. And so an examiner is not going to look really very leniently on them and is going to consider them a basic error, which means that it's going to hurt your score. I think an examiner would probably be a little more lenient if you made a mistake or two with something advanced. But when you make a basic grammatical error, they're a little less lenient, okay? So I hope that answers your question about your score. I really can't be any more specific. If you have any questions, do email me. And so what you can do now, since this is your last set, is you can sign up for more essay corrections. That might be a good idea for you to continue to get feedback. Also revising and reviewing some of these grammatical rules so you can kind of overcome some of these mistakes. Let's see about that. Let's see what you can do. So see if you can sign up for some more essays. I look forward to seeing more of your work. Let us know what you decide either way. And I look forward to hearing from you. Good luck.